If you want to continue to follow our adventure, click subscribe. So you don't miss anything, click the bell notification. A few months ago, I made a video where I talked about the Antiquities Act. And what that act is supposed to do is protect our natural history and resources that are 100 years old or more, are in our national parks, national forests, and BLMs. There's a lot of misinterpretation about this law, so I think in 1978 they redid the law and made it much more complicated to read, but that's beside the point. We have these laws in place to protect the national forest so people in future generations can enjoy all these natural resources that we have. Protect the wildlife, protect our history, protect prehistoric items. In the video I showed where I was in the Black Hills National Forest, and when we were kind of walking a trail, off to the side, we saw this old car. It was a rusted up old car. So we walked over to it and looking at it and take pictures of it. You'll see that I turned a piece over because I wanted to see what the make and model of the vehicle was. So I learned that I may have been in violation of the Antiquities Law. And apparently it was being preserved by the National Forest. Of course, now I feel bad about it and I won't ever do it again. One example is, there used to be a national forest that was called the Fossil Cycad National Forest. It was in the Black Hills, somewhere in South Dakota or Wyoming. And what it was is it was a national forest that had a lot of fossilized ferns. So they made a national forest around it. Well, they actually had to decommission this national forest in 1957 because so many people stole the fossils that there's not enough left to actually call it a national forest. Which is in an article that I just read that talked about all the problems of national parks with people taking things. In the BLM in Arizona, there is a cactus called and I'm going to say this wrong, I'm sure, and I'll put the spelling and the pronunciation right here, but it's called the saguaro cactus. Now these things can get up to 40 feet tall. Now why these things are so important is because if you find a cactus that is 40 feet tall, that cactus is probably 200 years old. So that means that the founding of our nation, this cactus was born. Well, apparently these things are worth a ton of money. And so people are going out into the BLMs and stealing, digging these things up and selling them. Well, this is causing the BLM to go out and actually tag each one of these cactus. These tags cost $7 a piece. Now, where is this money coming from? Coming from the taxpayers. Of course it is. Here's the problem is these people believe that the BLM is theirs. They paid for it through their tax dollars, so they have a right to these things. But that's not what the BLM's tax dollars are for. The tax dollars is to preserve, not so you can have. Another instance of people trying to profit from the BLMs or national forest or whatever is some rock carvings in California called petroglyphs. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, so I'll put the spelling down here. And these petroglyphs are rock carvings made by Native Americans 3,500 years ago. Somebody actually went out with a power saw and cut these out of the rock cliffs so they could sell them. Again, these people thought that, it's theirs, they paid tax dollars, so they're going to go out and they're going to take them. And they're going to make money off of them. No, they were there to preserve them. So future generations can see them. Now, this one actually brought up a memory. I did a vacation back, I think, 2004 or somewhere around there, where we went to Washington State. In Washington State, there was this petrified forest, and saw all these petrified little pieces of wood. Well, apparently it was enough to stick in my memory because I've thought about it a lot in my life. There's different national forests that have petrified wood. Now, what petrified wood is that the tree fell and it petrified and turned into stone. There are huge petrified forests, big enough, full-size trees. Well, they actually have a huge problem. People will just pick up pieces of this petrified forest, they take it home, and they make jewelry out of it. Some of them actually feel bad about it, and they send it back to the National Forest saying, I'm sorry we took it, but now it's encased in some sort of metal, jewelry. Well, the National Forest have no idea where it came from. They can't preserve the history, so it just sits in a box somewhere of somebody stole something and now they've returned it. But they've got such a problem, they've actually had to start comparing pictures. They actually have to have people sitting on a petrified log just to show the differences, what's missing, what's not missing. Now what they're having to do is they're having to put in surveillance cameras. More money spent, everything's security, everything's got to have more money. So what they're doing is any area that is sensitive, they put in a security camera. Well, they don't know who the person is. When they take a picture of that person, they don't know who it is. So now they have to put security cameras at the entrance of the park. So when you come in the park, it takes a picture of you and your license plate, and then you go out. If you steal something, it takes a picture of you again, and now they're having to compare your thieving picture with your license plate picture. So more money, more technology. All these things are having to be put in place because people keep stealing things. In the Smoky Mountains, there's a ginseng. Now, ginseng is a root, and a lot of people put it in their foods and different things, but it's supposed to lower blood pressure and heart, just a lot of different things. Well, if you get true American ginseng out of the Smoky Mountains, this stuff is really supposed to be real good stuff and pure, so you can go and sell it for $600 a pound. Well, it's become such a problem. People are stealing so much that it's starting to become extinct, is my understanding. So what they're having to do is put this invisible dye on the root. So they're having to go around, dig up all these ginseng plants, put an invisible dye on the root, I guess cover it back up, and that way, if you steal it and you pass by a ranger, the ranger can say, hey, what are you doing with that ginseng? And instead of saying, oh, I just carried it into the trail with me, they can say, oh, can I see your ginseng? And they can put a little light over it and see if you stole it. The problem with them stealing with all this ginseng is these ginseng plants can't reproduce. Once you take it, they can't reproduce. Well, they're not reproducing because there's so much missing. People are making so much money off of it. It's starting to become extinct. So once again, we're having to put more valuable resources into protecting something. So as I've said in the past, more and more of these places are being shut down. National parks are shutting down things. National forests are definitely shutting down things. The BLMs are, I think, are going to start restricting things here real shortly. I've talked about the Burning Man. It's starting to get shut down because of all the problems they're having out there. Well, this is the reason why. As the money is being reduced in the national forest, national parks budget, more technologies having to be put out there to preserve the things that they are set out to preserve. So in order to deal with all this, it's very logical and very easy to assume that they're just going to shut it down so they don't have to spend all this money. Thanks for watching. Click like if you like the video, and happy travels.